Hey there, and welcome back to Melody Loves Death Metal. Another review today. I promise some of the collection update stuff will start to come back next week, but this week I've got several things coming in. I don't think they'll be here until at least Friday or Saturday, and then several things probably coming in next week too. A lot of new stuff I've been buying and want to talk about. Some stuff I've been sleeping on this year that I finally went back and listened to and purchased. But for today, we'll focus on one album that comes out this Friday, November 10th. $20 spin release. I swear this is not on purpose. They just keep on. They've released a lot this year, and a lot of the things they've released this year have been some of my favorite albums. It's just another one of those years. The last time they did this was 2019, and that is the last time this band released an album, Vastum. In 2019, they released Orificial Purge. That I think was pretty much my favorite death metal album, aside from Tomb Mold, which also came out with an album that year, and that was very much the $20 spin year again. So this year I feel like is another $20 spin year for sure. So Vastum is on their fifth full-length album now. It is called Inward to Gethsemane, I think is how you say that. 38-minute long, 7-track album. And let me just tell you one thing. I got this a little over a month ago. I've listened to it about every day because I really wanted to fully digest this album, really fully get a grasp on what I'm listening to and have my thoughts fully collected before I talked about it. And this album has definitely grown on me a lot. But first impressions, the first couple times I heard it, I thought Orificial Purge is still my favorite album. But that was about 2 weeks ago that I donned that. Now that I've listened to it a little bit more, now that I finally dove into the PR package that was sent to me, read the lyrics, and just really immersed myself in the album, put headphones on because unfortunately I don't have the physical media right now. And I've just been listening to a lot of the intricacies in these songs. They've progressed quite a bit in regards to their songwriting, and it's very obvious on this album. The one thing that I really like about this album is that it's a little bit more suffocating, a little bit more claustrophobic sounding, and less old school death metal worship sounding, which they do have a lot of that old school death metal worshipy sound on their previous albums. It's definitely still there, here and there, a little throughout the whole entire album, but they've tend to kind of sway into more of their sound of what they want to be known as, which is good. And I think that that's probably an obvious progression that they needed to do. And really just, this really sets we are Vastum. And if you're not familiar with this band, they're full of musicians that are in a ton of other bands. So we've got Layla, who is on the vocals and guitars, is also in, let's see here, Layla, what have you been in? You've been in Bastard Noise, Memento Mori, you're in Cardinal Whim right now. Daniel Butler, who is also the other vocalist, who both of their vocals really are the shining point on this album. Like, just evil and sinister and heavy and just, they're very good. And they've always been good on their past releases, but this one I think they've excelled the most in terms of their sound. Daniel is in Acephalix, which is another great band. I talked about them last year. They came out with an album last year. Chad, who I think is, or maybe it's Colin I'm thinking of. One of them is a little bit relatively newer. It's Colin. Chad is in Mortuous, also in Necrot, Stormkeep. So very busy guy there. He also was in a bunch of other bands at one point in time. Frontalith he played live. Shelby, who I think might be one of the more familiar people in this band, if you're really kind of in the scene, is in Human Corpse Abuse, Notskeed, which is a black metal project that he does, Ulthar. So Ulthar is another one of my favorite albums to come out this year. Well, 2 albums, I should say. And then Colin, who is their newer member, was in Evulse, which is an awesome, awesome band. And I've talked about them 100 times on here on Transylvania Recordings, so please check that out. Also in Mortuous. And then Swamp Witch. Swamp Witch, by the way, needs to release a new album because their last album was awesome and I want more music. So this band has a lot of stuff on their plate. Like, I don't know how they keep up. They're in a ton of awesome metal bands, death metal band, underground death metal bands that you should definitely check out. And yeah, so they're pretty much, I feel like they are a set of musicians that are just super talented. And when they get together and write music, it's spectacular. And some of the best death metal you're going to hear, in my opinion, and that has nothing to do with the fact that they're on 20 Buck Spin. It's just, they are. Like, that's just the story. I don't know what to tell you. Some people really are dogging on 20 Buck Spin this year just because it's popular and we don't want to be popular and whatever. Fuck off. But anyway, the production is definitely better on this album, which I would expect after, a 4-year hiatus. It was recorded at, let me see here, I forgot. It was by Greg Wilkinson at Earhammer Studios, and then mastered by Brad at Audio Siege, who also did Obituary's album and then The New Year of the Knife. So, yeah. So after 4 years of a hiatus, I would assume that the production would get a little bit better in terms of what can be done with technology, what's progressed in that realm. This is very much, that was the first thing that I noticed. And if you go back and listen to Artificial Purge, you'll notice that the production is definitely a little bit more crunchier sounding, a little bit more, not brighter, but I guess brighter, not as muddled as their last album. But like I said, the songwriting has definitely progressed with this album. They've integrated a lot more creepy elements. Just the monotone chanting, talking is there. That's always been on Vastum Records, but there's in Stillborn Entity, which is one of just the creepy and heaviest songs on the album. There's like this high-pitched singing that's in it that's just really eerie and just would be in a horror movie. But it's a heavier, a darker, and more suffocating song on the album. It pounds you in the head for 6 minutes straight. And that's one of the longer songs on the album. I would say that one is the more relentless one on the ears, the one that really just drags you and beats you over the head in terms of just that suffocating and brutal sound that Vastum has incorporated on this album. In Bed with Death is their first track on this album, and it's a really, really good song, but oh my god, is it a fucked up song. If you buy the album, or if you're able to see the lyrics online, I'm not going to post them here, just I'll save it for people to be able to listen to it, but it is a very messed up song. It's heavy, and it leaves you feeling a little bit uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie, but they do it in the best way possible, and this album is just very dark. And I like really, really dark, suffocating death metal a lot. And I would say that this probably goes right up into an album that I listen to a lot. And I already know that just based off of that sound. It's definitely darker feeling than their last albums, I will say that. There's a little bit more of a deranged psyche that's going on in this album. And I generally prefer that type of death metal on a normal basis. I'm not going to lie. I'm thinking like Ceremonial Bloodbath is one that comes to mind. That's a really dark, suffocating album that came out a couple years ago. They have a new one coming out this year. I'm very excited about that. And then we go back to, the like blackened death metal, war metal, whatever the hell you want to call it. Like Blasphemy, Archgoat, Mystifier, Mystifier, I guess. Those types of bands. There's like that darker feeling when you're listening to those albums. I definitely get that same sort of feeling when I'm listening to this album. So that is an instant. This album fucking rocks as soon as it clicked. But the highlight of this album that is so good and a lot different than what they've ever released in terms of music. It's more of like an opus, an epic opus or journey. I don't know if opus is the right word there. Is the final track, Corpus Fractum. It's almost 8 minutes long, and it is spectacular. It's probably one of the more progressive songs on the album in terms of their style and what they incorporate. It's not anything I've ever heard them do. It's a very it's an epic song. That's the only way I can really describe it at this point. That took me by surprise. I didn't expect that to be the song that it was going to be. When I saw it was 8 minutes, I'm like, okay, there's going to be some build up in this song and some ups and downs, and there definitely is. But it's a very good song, and yeah, that's definitely my favorite song on the album. So as a whole, there is one instrumental track called Judas. It's about a minute and 40 seconds long. Another kind of creepy sounding song, but it goes well. It gives you a bit of a break and kinda for the most part, and then it goes right back into the brutal assaulting on your ears of indwelling Archon. But I think the final 3 songs on this album really are perfect with how it ends, and they're just this pummeling. It's got that suffocating, and there's even a bit of like a brutal sounding on Priapic Chasms, which is the second song. The way that Daniel does his vocals in this, it almost has like a brutal sound to it, like just kind of like a galloping, barking growl that he does. Reminds me of more of like brutal death metal, although it doesn't have like the brutal death metal guitars to it or anything like that, but just like he really hones in on that just evil, brutal sound of vocals. So how many times have I said this is evil? Yeah, as a whole, it's a very good album. And I think the more time I spend with it, the more I listen to it, it'll probably be right up there with Orificial Purge. It's hard for me to say like that I like this more than Orificial Purge, because that has such a strong connection to me. Like, and it's been 4 years that I've had it in my life, so it like this album, just I need to sit more with it. But in regards to a band like this, I think it would be weird if they came out, like, their point of releasing new music is to hopefully have fans say like, this is awesome and I like it better than their older stuff, because like they want you to enjoy their new music. And I do think that there's going to be some people that say this is their best album, and I'm not going to disagree with you, because I do think in terms of writing and creativity and the time that they took to make this and the overall production, it is their best album. It's very well crafted, and it makes me happy, because I think, you know, sometimes if a band takes a long hiatus and they come back, it's not always a good thing. Sometimes that long hiatus doesn't do them well. Unfortunately, that is not with Vastum. It's a very good album. Yeah, in regards to experimentation, I think their last song on this track is definitely why I'm saying they've progressed with their sound. It's definitely the more experimental side of it in terms of musicality and their vocals. But also it still has that same Vastum relentless, evil, merciless sound. So, but they've incorporated more things. It's not too more progressive, so chill out. They've added a little bit more elements into their music that they haven't done in past albums. So that's my final thoughts on it. I'm not going to rate it or anything. I don't usually do that in my reviews, but I do think this will be a fan favorite this year. In terms of the $20 spin releases to come out this year, this is my favorite one. I loved Ulthar. I loved Tribunal. I loved Tumult, obviously. I do like the Dream Unending and Worm split. What else have they come out? Let's pull up their sites. A Gravesend, that was a great release. Like, $20 spin is just nailing it this year. Whether or not you like them, that's your opinion. This is my opinion. Chill out. I have not listened to Ruin Lust yet, so I needed to take that on. A lot of people have told me that I'll like it. It's got more of that bestial kind of sound that I enjoy. Like I just listed off, like Archgoat, Blasphemy, all that stuff. So people have told me like you'll like it, and I need to listen to it. So I'll get on that. What else have they come out with this year? New Year's not even over yet. Oh yeah, Command was good. Majesties was a fantastic release. Jesus, man, they've come out with so much already this year. And like I said, the year's not even over yet. I have a feeling that they're gonna just come out with something new too, again, within the next week or so. I don't know that for sure. I just have a feeling. Tortured Rack was also another great release. Void Ceremony. Yeah, that came out earlier. That was a really good release. Holy shit. It's the $20 spin. Not gonna lie. I think Ruin Lust is really the only release that they've put out that I haven't listened to yet this year, and that's just simply because I wasn't a fan of their last album. That's why I didn't take a listen to it yet. But yeah, That's all I have today. Let me know what you think. The full stream is out on their YouTube right now, so you can go listen to it. And then I will see you guys in the next one.